Okay, so welcome to the Cool Block conversation from Transition Town Greater Media. It's March in 2024. And can you guys see the screen that I'm sharing now?
Yes.
You can. Terrific. So what we're going to do is first talk a little bit about the Cool Block program. We'll go into the background and description of the program so you get a sense of how it works. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Lemon Street, the North Lemon Street project, the Cool Block pilot that we did here in Media Borough. Talk a little bit about the results so you get a sense of what it actually felt like on the ground, putting a Cool Block together. And then Joni Carley was gracious enough to join us and talk about her experience as a new Cool Block leader, just getting started in Nether Providence. Is that right, Joni? So, okay. And then we will open it up for questions and answers. So, and you guys are able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So the Cool Block program was put together by the Empowerment Institute, which is a group that was founded by or co-founded by David Gershon. He's also the CEO of the Empowerment Institute. David is a social change leader. He's written a book called Social Change 2.0, and he's been involved in numerous actions to really try to change the direction for our planet for the better. He's currently running a peace game right now to try to bring peace to the world. Put together a Cool Block program about 10 years ago, and he sees one of the biggest challenges from a climate change perspective is we want to be carbon neutral by 2030, which is what a lot of climate scientists say we need to do if we actually want to try to have a livable future for our planet. You really have to compress time somehow. So one of the best ways to consider doing this is actually turn the paradigm of top-down structure, governments solving the problem and telling people what to do, and flipping the script from a bottom-up structure where you start at the block level, really the individual household level, tied into blocks, and blocks combine into cities, and cities combine into regions. And we see this as a possible way to really accelerate the kind of change that we need on the planet today to respond to all the changes in our climate, in our world. So this quote here by Rainier Rilke really talks about this idea of people waking up and adopting new ways of being, and how the future really speaks ruthlessly through these people. So in practicality, the Cool Block program is typically organized by 1 or 2 Cool Block leaders. Typically, they look for 5 to 8 households. There are about 20 to 30 households per block. In my case, you'll see we had 35 households that we approached initially, and I'll go through the details there. And there are 9 or 10 meetings. Well, there are 9 meetings after the initial information session that really take place either 2 weeks or once a month, so 4.5 to 9 months of duration. And it really enables this block by block scaling from the bottom up that I was talking about before. There are 5 topics that are covered across 8 information modules. They focus on disaster resilience, how to reduce carbon at the household level, how to be good water stewards, improve the livability of neighborhoods, and how to empower others. And we find that a lot of the principles of the Cool Block program really fit well with the Transition Town principles as well. So what are the benefits to the households? This is something that you'll typically use when you're trying to talk to people about whether they want to participate in the program. And it looks like, really, what is a sense of purpose? How can we bring a sense of purpose to what we're doing as a neighborhood? We build a stronger community. satisfaction of individual action, that people want to make a difference. And of course, safety and health are things that everyone's looking for, particularly these days. What's been achieved since launching the Cool Blocks program about 10 years ago? The program actually started in California and has actually been rolled out to some Western states. Last year, they started to roll it out along the Eastern Seaboard here and also in Europe. In fact, in the cohort that I was participating in, they had some online training for us to support us. And I was participating with people from Germany and the UK and I think Scotland as well. Well, Scotland's part of the UK, but there might have been some people in Ireland as well. So Europe and Eastern Seaboard. So there's an expanding approach to the Cool Block program. As of 2021, there are 125 Cool Blocks. As of 2023, when I talked to the Cool Block founders, they said they were up to about 350. And overall, they've seen a 29% carbon reduction per household, which is huge. When you think about that, you're really talking about literally hundreds and thousands of households. And there's a 45% participation in the program. That's what they found, which is pretty consistent with what we discovered as well in our block. So the Cool City principle. So the idea is Cool Blocks roll up to become cool cities. So you'll see Cool Block and Cool City used interchangeably. But empowerment really helps empower the individuals at the household and block and neighborhood levels to envision and create a planet-friendly, disaster-resilient, and community-rich future. It's a bottom-up program, so it's driven from the bottom up by engaging households, blocks, neighborhoods, eventually cities and regions. It's demand-side driven. So really this intervention, it's an intervention that activates the supply side of policy, clean technology adoption, and new markets for carbon neutral technology and financing innovations. Also provides a whole system climate solution. So it's integrating both bottom up and top down climate solutions into a synergistic whole. And it focuses on that last mile access, that a lot of social scientists will say is some of the most difficult areas to roll out new programs. How do you reach that last mile from the service that's being provided or for like energy or healthcare or whatever, and get it down to the household level? So really one of the most difficult parts of the climate action is getting the end user at the household and block level engaged, and that's what Cool Blocks focuses on. Distributed action climate solution enables engagement with the city's climate action plan at the hyper-local level of households, blocks, and neighborhoods. And city and citizenry act as partners together. Provides an operating system upgrade for the city by empowering the citizens to become full partners with the local government in the process of creating a carbon neutral city. And we're actually seeing this right now with the North Lemon Group. Talk more about that in a moment. So there are three sort of strategic tipping points that are being used here by the Cool Block program. This is something that I learned from the Empowerment Institute and the folks who put these programs together. They use this idea of 15%, which are sort of the early adopters of new market makers. So Jeffrey Moore is a guy who wrote a groundbreaking business book probably 20 years ago about how new ideas are adopted. And he points out that visionaries are not just looking for improvement, but revolutionary breakthrough. And they're willing to take high risks to achieve something new at the least price sensitive of the adopter groups. And they're typically pretty demanding group of people. So we're working with people that are willing to try out new things on your block. They're willing to say, okay, I'm going to keep an open mind and think about how I might do this differently. Really working with their intuition and their vision. The idea of cyclogenesis is this theory of vortices combining to create a hurricane. So lots of little energy centers can become connected and provide a much larger energy center. And then the idea of punctuated equilibrium really comes out of looking at the idea that evolutionary process responding to extinction level threats. So a lot of people say that we are facing what amounts to the sixth grade extinction on this planet. And, how are we going to respond? Sometimes things can happen very quickly, moving us out of a stasis into an activated change mode. And that's what Pool Block seeks to do with a lot of the programs they're putting together. So we like to think about this as accelerating bottom-up activity. So here's sort of a conceptual map of how this might roll out in the greater media area. I probably should have replaced some of these with Twyckenham, because we did North Lemon Street. And then you would have another block like Olive Street and another block like Fourth. But each one of these blocks, the activities that they choose and the microculture of that block helps determine what their focus becomes. So, for example, we've learned that sharing a stream between all of our households can become a really important focal point for community action. So this is our North Lemon Pool Block case study. So this is our group. These are actual pictures from our Pool Block program. Again, there were 35 households that I approached. There's a door knocking process. They give you a script. I actually chose to go with a friend every time, a friend from the neighborhood, to knock on doors, because knocking on doors can always be a little challenging. But they recommend you go 3 times, and then you leave a flyer behind if you haven't made contact. Every time you make contact, you scratch the name off the list, but you invite them to an information session. So through that process, we signed up 12 Pool Block households. 2 households stayed on the list, but they never made it to any of the other groups. So we were down to 10. 1 dropped out about halfway, and we had really about 7 households represented on a regular basis. This is what our Pool Block looked like on North Lemon Street from roughly May 2023 to February 2024. We just had our last Pool Block meeting, formal Pool Block meeting recently. But we would typically gather and have a little bit of a potluck. People would bring snacks and delicious things to share. We would socialize for 10 or 15 minutes, and then we would jump into the program for the evening and start talking about those things. And there was a lot of show and tell, a lot of back and forth. People would share ideas. You can see on here, we were talking about household disaster resilience. So we were talking about different kind of foods that you might have available for in case of a prolonged power outage. There's a crank radio that you can actually crank by hand. We're going to see that was actually used a little later in our case study. And then these are there's some water purification tablets also. We talk a little bit about how to store water for an emergency. This is a snapshot of our final dashboard. It shows that 10 households actually signed up and got into the portal. 5 of the households actually reported. So a lot of people would participate and came, and they didn't actually do the dashboard work. Some people really enjoyed the dashboard. So that's why when they say 45% participation, I think that's really what they're talking about, is that's how many out of the households that sign up, people are still participating actively in the meetings, and they're doing actions at home, but they may not be using the dashboard. And the dashboard's broken out across these 8 different modules. These are information modules that we have each meeting. And we marched through them, starting with resiliency. There were 2 resiliency modules, 2 carbon modules, water livability, 2 modules on that, and empowerment. And we ended up reducing about 65,000 pounds of carbon, which is pretty remarkable, about 13,000 pounds per household on average. And that's just of the households that reported. There's another aspect of the dashboard. There's the idea that you can get badges if you take some of the actions that are recommended as basic actions for each of the modules, and you get a little star or recognition. You may become a super household. So you can see how people started to track the different actions that they were committing to take, actions that they've already taken, and actions that they were now taking. So we had about 40 actions that were taken during the program. And we had a commitment of, I think it was actually, it was about, we ended up with about 90 actions that were taken. You can't see the bottom of it, so I apologize for that. And there are 180 that were committed to in terms of actions to be taken. And we asked people who participated in the actions and dashboard, did it make you more likely to follow up on the actions? Because I was wondering, the dashboard, was that really worth it? And the answer was yes. People said that it was a reminder for them. It helped keep them on track. And then it provided a lot of detailed ideas. They provide recipes for each action. Under each of these modules, there are several actions that you can take. And every action has a recipe where they give you step by step. Here are the ways to think about, to assess your household with this particular dimension, and then things you can take and resources that you might be able to find and take advantage of. So what do we accomplish? So lots of connections, including things like people shopping together for a personal computer, walking together, volunteering together. One of our members became a citizen, and some of us went down and supported her at her swearing-in ceremony. Sorry. We did potlucks at every gathering. It was like a party every once a month that our neighborhood had. We had a New Year's Eve party, and most of the people there were from the Cool Block. We also did some planning. We're working on a community garden now. We have a block party planned for the summer months. And then in the environment, we were walking the stream, looking at erosion concerns. We actually connected with the CRC watershed group. We met with the borough manager, talked to her. The township engineer came out and took a look. And that's an ongoing conversation right now, even though our Cool Block program has closed down. Well, we completed the course. We also did a number of reusable product demonstrations, talked about switching to green energy. Some people went out and researched, walked us through the process of how you can switch to renewable energy. And then on resilience front, food storage, water storage, how to put together a go bag. We put together a text and email phone list that we all use. We had an emergency response material like fire blankets and first aid kits. So lots of stuff that we covered. I mean, it was really broad, and this is really just a sampling. We were also in the news. I was surprised to open up my mailbox the other day and saw the Nutshell, which is the newsletter for the Hickory Valley townhouse community. And I saw that one of our members, Vicky, had put together an overview of the Cool Block program. And this is just the beginning of that. But it was really nice to see her profiling and proudly presenting what she learned in the Cool Blocks. Some of my favorites, I made new friends. I got to know my neighbors, learned about the different skills that people have in the community. We've also done a number of things as a support network. We've shared tools, we've shared expertise. People have shared rides, life celebrations, shared food. And then we checked in on others in our group when challenges came up, like during storms, or if we knew that somebody was having a health problem, people were checking in with each other, and still are. We also identified a number of projects we could do together, like a flower garden, the block party I mentioned, and a pickleball court. They have an extended overflow parking lot, and we're looking into actually putting a little pickleball court there for the community to use. And of course, we had parties, game nights, and gatherings, lots of socialization. I mentioned the wind-up radio. So one of our Cool Block members, Anne, said she went out and bought these radios for her granddaughters. And a few weeks later, during one of these big storms, they live in Westchester, and their power went out. And she said, thanks to Cool Block Ideas, I bought my granddaughters crank radios with power packs and lights for Christmas. And they just texted me this photo. They're putting them to good use tonight. They're in their home with no power. She talks about learning about solar radio, battery packs. So she really feels good about this and adding resilience to the lives of friends and loved ones. So I just thought that was such a neat story. I wanted to share it. What did other cool blockers say? You can get a sense. Here are some of the quotes that we got from people. Everybody got something from participating. So everything from connecting to neighbors, creating new friends, and building resilience in your household. So when we wrapped up, we said, okay, what's next? This is really one of the slides from our final meeting. And then Joni, I'll turn it over to you to give a little update on what's going on in your pool block. But just to mention, you know, I resent the list of names and addresses and emails. One of our members gave us an update on the flower garden that she has started working on. Again, we have a little group called the Stream Team now, and the Stream Team is working with the borough to look at solutions, and also a land steward that I'm working with to look at solutions for our stream and remediating some of the erosion after some of these mega storms. We have a block party coming. The pickleball court is in planning, and we expect lots of other great ideas and activities to come out of this work. So that's a quick overview. I thought I'd turn it over to Joni, and then we could do some Q&A. So Joni, how's it going with the Twickenham pool block?
We're having a great time. It's just so much fun. And I feel so good. So we are on our second substantive conversation. There's 9 conversations, and the first one is a self-organizing conversation. So you figure out when everybody's calendar works for everybody to get together from then on. And so we are now, in a couple of weeks, going to have our second conversation. And the first one is really just about personal and household resilience. So just putting water aside if water gets stopped. I mean, stuff I always meant to do. And now there's a structure to do it in. And that structure is just, it couldn't be more fleshed out. You know, you don't need to know anything ahead of time because everything's in there. I mean, it may lead you to find out more things, but the actual way to do it, even every meeting is outlined for the meeting leader. So each meeting, you know exactly what needs to be said, what the agenda is. And there's all kinds of videos and support material and all of that. We have 6 households, and we're in a comfortable neighborhood, and so we're really excited about what might come at the end of it. And you know, when we get past our own immediate household efficiencies. And this has been done all over the world. I mean, the data is so good over these years that Skip, that was beautifully done. It's really got quite a track record. India, China, but the bottom line is you're just hanging out with neighbors and having a really good time. And I was active with the political group and still am from time to time, but I just feel so much better about using my time this way because I'm really connecting with people. It's a variable ages, so it's wonderful to be with people who have young kids and you know, who we wouldn't necessarily bump into each other. So now we're involved with each other. So that's really, really, really cool. And I also love that it fits so well with Transition Town and with Skip's leadership and Shari's leadership and just how we already primed the pump because of how successful Transition Town Greater Media has been. We are really well positioned to scale up and include more communities and support those of you who are interested to become a cool city, cool region. Um, California is doing that. There's a lot of work. Well, the governor there has brought this in, so they've been able to do that, really scale into regional and large city work. And it's so easy to do here because we're so close already with just what Transition Town is and does, and that we're supported, you know, at this level. As Skip said, he was talking with David Gershon. it's hard to get to talk to this guy. He's a busy guy, but he's, there's so much here that supports us in terms of their interest in helping us, because we are geared toward the helping to scale this kind of idea, because it fits so well with Transition Town um, charter, like what we're all about with our principles, and so it's just like putting a rocket on our back to have this well laid out program.
Yeah, it really does. And you pointed out that there's a lot of support. I mean, they have a whole section for leaders. So for every session, you can go in as a leader and it talks you through how to prepare for the meeting. They give you template messages to send out in advance. They give you a script to follow during the meeting. I mean, they really walk you through the program and hold your hand through it. After the first 2 or 3 modules, you start to adapt to the rhythm and really pick it up on your own. But it's the support is there for you if you want
Yeah,
it.
it's more like holding your hand. It's not it's not rigid. It's
Right.
more like holding your hand, but it's extremely well put together. It's a good
Exactly.
net.
Yeah. So that's great. Thank you, Joni. I think that's perfect. I'm going to reshare my screen here while we take questions. So I have the Cool Block. I just brought up the Cool Block platform in case there are questions about that. You can see here's topic number 1 on energy resilient homes. You can see how you have the goals are earn a badge in 1 or more topics to make your block very cool. Okay. You could take 4 priority action items, which are the first 4, and you'll get a cool household star, or you could be a super cool household to take an additional 3 actions. And here you get these are the different actions, and each one of them can be opened up. Like Joni was talking about basic water needs. And I mentioned the recipe. So they provide an overview, and in the recipe, here it is, step by step. How many days of water store do you want to have? How many people, like when I started doing the math on this, it's just taking you to that level where you don't think about it. I'm like, oh, well, it's just me and my wife. And it's like, well, do you have any pets? It's like, oh, yeah, and Chip. Okay, so there are 3. And then it's like, oh, well, what about my son who lives across town? If there's a real emergency, he might come here. And what about my daughter and her boyfriend? So all of a sudden, I have a lot of water.
Each one of these steps is a pull down menu of exactly how to think about it and what to do with it.
Exactly. And where to go for further information. So here's a Red Cross emergency water treatment, 50-year emergency water, 7 filters for making clean drinking water. Just great support for all of these different areas that you can take a look at. And so at this point, we'll see if there are any questions that people have. I also put up my contact information here. So if you want to reach out to me and learn more about it, it's my phone number, or you can text me there, or email me at shuda@gmail.com. And then also to learn more about Transition Town Media and Cool Blocks program, you hear some URLs to learn about Cool Blocks and David Gershon, an interview with Rob Hopkins, the founder of the Transition Movement, and then our email for Transition Town Greater Media. So, any questions from anyone?
Where was that community garden? Where is that being built? Is it on someone's yard or?
Oh, so yeah, the community garden that we're working on is actually part of the HOA for Hickory Valley townhouses. So Hickory Valley has some common space, and they're going to be using some of the common space next to one of our Cool Block members to build a flower garden. So started originally, it was a much broader. We're going to have all kinds of foods and vegetables and that kind of thing. But there's already a group that's doing landscaping work and that kind of thing. So we scaled down to a flower, like a cut flower garden. And that's how we're going to start. And like Joni said, you know, it really does tie into a lot of the transition town activities. You know, one of our members said that she started volunteering at the Free Store because she learned about it, and walking up with my wife, who's a volunteer at the Media Free Store at times. And you know, others have been getting involved with the Green Wagon Project and the Biodiversity Project and Bee City and, you know, the Bird Town Project. So, you know, there's all kinds of cross connections that are being formed, and it just really strengthens the mesh between us. So,
I see Joy is trying to ask a question, Joy.
oh, yeah, Joy. Can you unmute? If not, maybe you can type it. Oh, it looks like she may have put it in here already. Okay, she said she has a question. Don't know if we can hear. How do I start? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. So if you are ready to start, Joy, so we did try to put a training session together in the fall, and I think we had some miscommunication both on our side and their side with the Cool Block team. They were, as I mentioned, they're launching another initiative on this peace initiative, so I think they got stretched a little thin. But Joni has since started, and the main thing that that you need to do is get a code for the Cool Block program. So they want you to go through an orientation. I actually recorded the initial information session. So that's available if you want to watch that. And then I think they feel like sometimes they'll do the information session. That's best because then they can, you know, they'll have a multiple pool community cohort that's starting with different leaders, and they can answer the questions based on their experience. But Joni, I think you just watched, maybe you watched an information session, but you got the code, the block code from Miranda.
Yeah, I think I just went on and onto the website and applied for a block code. Said that I wanted to start, and
Okay.
it went from there. So, oh, you went to the initial session, Joy. That's really good to hear. Joy, we can hear you now. Do you want to speak up? No, we can't.
No, she's muted right now.
I
So
heard her for a minute.
yeah.
Um,
So it
so-
sounds like Joni went to this website. Now, if I log out, I'm not sure. So the first thing you do is you register.
going to tell you in terms of how to start, what that's going to tell you is to knock on doors and leave poster or handouts and have
Yeah.
conversations, which they're going to give you scripts for. And you don't want, we have 6 households in our cool blocks, and that's very comfortable. That's a very nice number. If you have more than 10, then you want to split into 2 because it's the intimacy, it's the interconnectivity that really matters more than anything else. You know, it's a level of safety and belonging, and you know those things that really really matter. And so how we got the code, Joy, was we when you go to the where Skip is on the website of coolblock.org, then you start noodling around and you'll have eventually we can find a place that's if you go under why join us, that's probably somewhere under there.
Well,
And you can send
I'm
it
logged in right now, Joni. I think she
Yes,
would
you
still
can.
have to, I think we need to get you a login and a code from them that enables you to get into the system initially. And once you have a code, that's a code you can then give to your other neighbors to get in there.
Yeah, I think I did it directly on the site. I don't think I did it through them, Skip. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure there's a way here to just
All right.
register as a block leader.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to mimic
wrong,
that, like
but-
if I wasn't a member, so maybe, okay, you can get to why join us. And maybe
I
that's
think you
where,
probably would have to log out. We probably don't want to go through all that right now, but we will certainly support you. If you can't get in through there, then
yes, contact us.
there is so much here. There's a ton of videos. So just going to this site and starting to play around, you'll see plenty to keep you busy for a long time and get a very good sense of what you're in it for and what you want.
So this
You
is it here. It's at coolblock.org/start-cool-block. And this is where, and you don't have to be logged in to get here. So I think that's probably, Joni, you think that's probably where you went
Yep.
and went through that form?
And then it generated a code, and that was our code. And I was able to go back in and name a co-captain. And then we just gave out that code to all the other neighbors who were interested.
That's right. So you'll see leadership resources. This is where they take you through all of the different things you need to do as a block leader. Again, scripting you all the way through. So neighborhood walk invitation guide. They take you through this. How do you do it? And they go, the invitation process. This all breaks down. Decide what is your block. How are you going to define it? I defined it as my HOA neighbors, plus there were 3 or 4 neighbors nearby that I invited as well. And then, timing, how to go door to door. I mean, really, it's step by step. They even have the script. You can practice it. So, good stuff. All right, let's see.
Well, this is all very well tested and honed in because it's been done, so many thousands of people have had their doors knocked on.
Yeah, they really can. All right, so if there aren't any other questions, I think we can wrap this up. Anybody else? I see some people have joined since we wrapped up. I don't know if you have any questions. We are recording this, so I'll make the recording available to our interest group. And you can always follow up with me again at shuda@gmail.com with additional questions. But love to see if you're going to start, please let me know. I mean, I'm happy to help out and share tips and tricks and ideas, be a sounding board. We want to support you so you can be successful, because I think it's a pretty cool program. And if you didn't get that from the enthusiasm in my voice, I definitely think it's worthwhile time.
I'm actually
Yeah.
wondering, I do have one question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Just wondering, is there an average amount of investment is it one per month, a meeting once per month?
You make that up. That's what that first meeting is about. They suggest like twice a month, but we sat there with our calendars. People in my neighborhood had pretty complex calendars. And so it was kind of all over the map, whether it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But we all laid it out that the first meeting is a self-organizing meeting, and you just figure all that out then.
Sure. But I mean, also, is there an average monetary investment per month in terms of the things you're buying, like the radio? And I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
no,
like-
that's a gregreat question. I mean, there's no
Oh.
requirement to spend any money at all.
Mm.
But it's really up to you in terms of whether you want to make investments in different kinds of products. Some people went, hog wild and bought all kinds of stuff, and the one woman was buying the radios for her grandchildren. But other people are use free store materials and say, okay,
Okay.
can I get some containers that I can put my water in that are can be cleaned out and recycled, and so that's really up to you. In terms of time investment, I seem to recall David saying something like each meeting it's sort of like an investment of a movie. So watching a 2-hour movie, an hour and a half, 2 hours, of time. If you really are going to go through, take the time to walk through all the action items, decide what you're going to spend time on, decide what have you already done, and then spend some time actually doing that stuff. But you can spend as much time as you want. And you know, I think some people like to just come for the socialization, and that was fun too. You know, we were happy to have them in the group.
Yeah, I spent on I decided to do about 5 days of food. And so I spent on some instant soups and stuff that I wouldn't usually eat, but so things out of the ordinary like that. And just made sure I had a nice little variety of stuff. And I did buy a nice flashlight that was also a radio, and also it had a sun charger on it, and I could charge devices on it. So for like $35, that seemed like that would, I think that's what it was, somewhere around there. And I think that was the only real. And then I realized as I was trying to put away, so it has a rechargeable battery inside of it, and then it can also take 6 batteries. Well, that made me go look at my rechargeable battery situation, and most of them were beat after all the years of recharging them and using them. So then I invested in better batteries and, to be able to actually stash 6 in a box and forget about them so that they're there when I need them. So that was the kind of investment. I think that was about all I invested in. That, and I usually do get 5-gallon water jugs delivered, and they're usually recycled, but I pulled one out to fill with tap water. And so I won't have that deposit or that recycling of the water. And I'll probably put one that's just spring water already factory sealed away too. So
And
that
I have water stabilization tablets. I think you get like 20 of them, and you put them in once a year. So if you need to borrow a water stabilization tablet, you know, I'm happy to share. So
Oh, good. Yeah, when you said that earlier, I thought that was a good idea. And
yeah,
this is exactly what happens at the meetings.
right, right. People
I
start saying,
never
did
thought of
you
the tablet.
know? Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And-
one person brought she went out and she bought a bunch of hemp-based tissues for everyone. And she handed them out at the meeting. So everybody went home with a box of tissues made out of
Mm,
hemp paper. It was kind of neat. So,
mm.
and she also
Just
got some of those dishwasher or washing machine strips that you could put in to wash your clothes, and really reduces the amount of water that you're using.
oh yeah.
So
Mm, mhm.
Joy's asking, just saw that it cost $20 per family. Did anyone have a problem with that? We didn't
No,
have
that's
there were no required costs with ours,
no.
Joy. So I'm not sure what they're referring to there, but there's no requirement to spend any money.
No.
That was my question too. Is there a cost for you guys to take the training though?
No. No, because we piggybacked in, because we were looking at this
Huh?
as being a regional member. Oh,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It says outside of a community campaign, a nominal fee of $20 will be collected when each household registers. So that's something we can follow up. I'll drop a line to Miranda and ask about that, and I can follow up on that. But I can tell you that we did not have any fee for any of our members.
no. I wonder if
No.
that was a cool city. Yeah, no, we didn't pay any. I really don't think there's going to be a fee. And if there was, cool block, Transition Town is so committed, and if someone couldn't make that fee, then
Yeah, I'm sure we'd be able
okay,
to help
yeah,
cover that expense.
yeah.
But I'll follow up with that. That's a good question.
I know that the idea is to meet, sort of build community together. I'm curious if, just when Joni said kind of like what we were talking about a moment ago, was exactly what meetings are like. Would it be possible, because some people on my block, for example, have babies like newborns and things like that. So they want to put them to bed, they need to put them to bed and stuff like that. So I was just wondering if Zoom meetings could work with this concept.
It's not impossible, but we have people with young kids, and the meeting before last was supposed to be at my house, and at the very last minute, somebody said, I gotta do it at my house. My kids, I can't pack my kids up, and so we went to their house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we brought the food, and then somebody else brought her child who was thrilled to be with the other kids,
Yeah.
and it was a lovely evening. So, just I mean, that's all the better for me as my kids are grown. So the idea of being around kids, I mean, that's part of the joy of it.
Yeah, and during the information session, the first session, so the first time you have an information session where you have interested parties who come and discuss whether they want to participate or not. And you really go through the program in detail. And then there's a team building session. And those are the people who said, yes, we're part of this. We want to move ahead. And that's when you set your schedule. So all these things like, childcare and work schedules and that kind of thing can be accommodated at that point, and you can decide whether you're going to have a regular meeting time, how frequently, or whether you're going to do it meeting by meeting. And you also try to find different leaders, so different people have an opportunity to lead one of the sessions. So that's another opportunity. I ended up leading probably about 5 of the sessions, but three or four of them were led by other households. So
There's a leader and a host for every session.
right.
So, and you can even split up hosting where one person does the food and the other person opens their house. So it's pretty simple. But then the leadership, you do want to rotate that to the best degree possible. And people volunteer if they want to, they do it. But
Yeah.
there's one meeting where everybody figures that out together.
So I'm going to stop the recording here in the interest of keeping the recording size down. But I'm happy to stay on and answer other questions as they come up.
Me too. And